If you're hurt, injured, don't waste time. Gary Johnson cries for every dime.
Welcome to Simply the Law, a program created by attorney Gary C. Johnson. Simply the Law provides free legal advice and encourages happiness and quality of life. Now, here's Simply the Law with Gary C. Johnson.
Hello, everyone. If you're wondering what the name of the show is, it's Simply the Law. Not that I would ever forget after all of these years. I'm Keith Casebolt, my dear friend Gary C. Johnson.
Hello, folks, my dear friends. How are you guys and gals doing? It's wonderful. The reason Keith said that was he first started off calling this show Simply Life, which is the radio show. So he had to back up.
Made a little mistake on which visit we were taking, whether it was the radio visit or the television visit, yes.
How's everything going? Pretty good? Some of you, more likely than not, possibly, have come into some grief in the last year. And a lady by the name of Bridget Clay contacted my office and said she had had a really rough time with the passing of her parents and grief, so she went through the internet and found several quotes and compiled them into a book. And the book is Working Through the Puzzle of Grief, One Piece at a Time. I don't think she's formally got this book out to where anyone can buy it, but maybe she will. But she asked me to read it and give her my thoughts on it. And I did. And it's pretty deep in regard to the depth of sorrow that we feel when a person has grief. I've said on this program before, there is no pain that compares to the pain of grief. You can break an arm, you can break a leg, it doesn't matter. But the psychic pain of grief far exceeds any of those. And then what do you do about it? How do you can't take a pill for it. A Loratab won't help you. Opiates won't help you. Morphine won't help you. You have to look inside yourself to try to figure out how to deal with it. And this is what Bridget did when she wrote this little bitty book here. Here's what it looks like, in case if you want to know what it looks like. Bridget was a physical ed teacher for many years, I think, in Floyd County, and was a coach for many years, and retired a few years ago. I want to have Keith read to you just a few of the simple passages of the quotes that Bridget put in this book, and her reaction to those quotes as she was going through her grief. And maybe, just maybe, it will help one of you that's going through grief at this time deal with it a little easier. Keith, I've tapped...
Yeah, before we get to that, you mentioned the pain of grief. On a previous program that we did, you actually had a medical journal that you read from where it said, "Can you die of a broken heart?" And literally, you read all of the physical ailments that grief could bring to you, and in the fact you actually can die from a broken heart.
Absolutely. Grief, stress, depression, anxiety, all of those things come at you psychologically. You can have a mental breakdown. All kinds of things can happen. The one thing I want to point out to you, though, the extent of the grief you're feeling is exactly equal to the joy you lost. So to the best of your ability, appreciate the fact you have that much grief. Now that's hard, but if you had not had the joy, you would not be having the grief. And maybe when you understand that balance, it'll make it a little easier for you to get through it. So we're going to go over here and have Keith read you just a few of those things, and I have them tabbed, the ones that I think you folks might want to hear. Keith, will you be glad to do that for us?
Absolutely, happy to. The book is Working Through The Puzzle of Grief by Bridget Clay. And what Bridget did was she looked for quotes that would try to help her with the grief, and then she kind of gave her spin on the quote. The first quote that we come to is, "With the new day comes new strength and new thoughts." That was from Eleanor Roosevelt. And here's what Bridget writes. "In the midst of taking care of my mother, who suffered from Alzheimer's, I read quotes daily. It renewed me. I did find strength from it to keep going forward. You simply can't prepare for illness. Things just happen, but life goes on for you. It seems to stand still, though. That's when you have to draw on your inner strength to keep pushing forward. None of us know how we will react until we're faced with those situations. The only thing you can do is treat that person the way that you hope someone would treat you. With my mom's illness, the days were long. Sleep was the only barrier that allowed me to keep going. Each new day, I found the strength and courage to help my mother as best I could. Somehow your strength is renewed for the new day to come. With the Lord's help, you can find a way to keep pushing on." You know, Gary, when you first had this chapter and we read this on the radio, the thing that jumped out about me was when she said sleep was the only barrier that I got in taking care of my mother. It was the only escape and relief that she could get in dealing with this illness.
Any of you going through that? You understand what Bridget's going through then, don't you? Or what she was going through. We are all together, my friends. We all live in this big world. There is no one that does not have stress and anxiety and things go wrong in their life. It's part of living life. The question is, how do we deal with it? And when you get right down to it, that all depends on us. The choices we make and how we will deal with it. Bridget chose to be strong, and she chose to use her grief and the sorrow that she was going through to go through, find things, and then write down so maybe she could help someone else that was going through this type of thing. I'm sharing some of what Bridget wrote with you with the hope that some of you that are suffering from anxiety, raise your hands, how many of you got anxiety right now? Huh? It's part of life, isn't it?
It is.
It's our living. How many of you maybe have some mild depression when you read the news and look at this virus and all of this stuff? Huh? I mean, really and truly, it's tough. But life is so worth living. You constantly see where some movie star, some famous person is committing suicide. Incredible. The gift of life just goes away because of some little something or something that's happened in life. You embrace your anxieties, you embrace your stress, and you grow from it. And you make yourself be a better person, and you live your life. You be positive and seek out some happiness and joy. Understanding it's fleeting, and you're going to have to earn it when you get it.
You know, my friend, something else that really jumps out at me, Bridget signed up for this. She said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to try to take care of my mother and see her through this illness. As things got really tough and the grief set in, she did what you have asked all of us to do. She started thinking, what can I do? What can I find that can help me cope with this grief so that I can continue the fight and not give up?
And that's where you have to go down deep. Right, Bridget, if you're watching this, you have to go down deep and you have to pull up hard to find that inner strength that each and every one of you has. Every single one of you's got that inner strength. You wouldn't be watching this program if you didn't. If you didn't want to have a better life and to be more out there and to be part of things that are going on, you wouldn't waste your time. You'd use the clicker and get this show off of there. You would.
That's right.
Because this is what we talk about primarily on this show, even though it's called Simply the Law. It's really, as Keith started off to say, it's more about simply life. And our goal, and Keith and I were talking about this just before we went on the air. Our goal, Keith, tell it.
Our goal is if one person can find the relief of just 1 minute because of something that has been said on this program, then we feel pretty doggone good.
We've done our job.
We've done our job.
Let's take a break and we'll be right back.
Listen, stay with us because we're going to read more from the book by Bridget Clay, and I think it's going to be an inspiration for you. It's something we're all dealing with, maybe not to the extent that Bridget did, but we're all going to relate to this. We'll be right back with Gary C. Johnson and Simply the Law right after this.
People are asking, what is judo law? Judo is a martial art that uses the opponent's strength to defeat them by not opposing it directly. Gary C. Johnson created a method of practicing law based upon that principle. It worked so well, he named it judo law. To see the results, go to GaryCJohnson.com. To have Gary and his team of judo lawyers go to work for you, dial pound HURT. This is an advertisement.
Welcome back into Simply the Law. You know, we're reading from the book by Bridget Clay. The other thing I want to point out, Bridget wasn't afraid to stand up and say, I'm having a tough time with this. I'm having grief. I'm having a tough time dealing with it. I'm having depression. Many of us, Gary, because we want to put on this bravado, oh, nothing bothers me, nothing gets me down, I'm okay. We don't want to admit those things.
That's right. My friends, if you're having the problem, look it in the eye, acknowledge it, say, okay, all right, I'm going to deal with it. My friends, you can. You have it inside of you to do it. You can deal with it. Do you think it's going to be easy? Nope. It didn't. It took a long time for it to come around and to get you. And it's not going to turn loose of you easy, the anxieties and all those things aren't. But with perseverance, absolute dedication to taking care of you. Remember how many times I've said on this program, you need to love you? It's you we're talking about. Taking care of you. Not somebody else, but you. And once you do that, then you can help others. And I'm sure Bridget took care of herself. Otherwise, she would have never been able to go through and do what she's done. And then to write it down, to try to share it with other people in the hope that it will make it a little easier to go through what she went through. She didn't have this book when she started it. I'm sure it would have been a great benefit to her if she had. She created the book from her own sorrows that she was going through. And Bridget, I admire you for that. I really admire you, and I bet you everyone that knows you admires you. We're going to read another section from your book, another quote, and Keith is going to do it.
Here's another quote that Bridget found that made a difference in her life, and it says, "There are many ways of going forward, but there's only one way of standing still." Franklin Roosevelt said the quote. Now here's Bridget's take on this. You can't quit. It's easy, but feeling sorry for yourself won't help you move forward. The pain that we're carrying around from yesterday wears us out today. Facing today seems impossible because we're constantly reminded of the way it used to be. Do you have enough left inside to find joy and happiness? Are you trying to do it alone? These are questions that we ask ourselves daily. Are we afraid? The answer, yes, we are. Sometimes when we are faced with a huge challenge that we think we can't solve, we don't even try because we're afraid of failing. But if we don't try, then that is when we will fail, and we will fail to see what we're made of day after day. We strike out at friends and family because we know deep down inside that we're afraid and we're not good enough. If we don't try, then we never have to know. Our weakness defines us. But if we can gather strength from family and friends, we can move forward. They are wrestling with the same fears, yet they're moving forward. So don't stay stuck. Try to move forward. You have nothing to lose. If you fail, you will at least say, I tried. You never know, but by helping yourself, you might be able to help others. And I really enjoyed that because my dear friend, I've got a list of his quotes, and one of the greatest ones, when in doubt, go forward. And that was what Bridget said. And the other thing I liked out of this, she asked the question, are we afraid? And the answer is, yes, we are. I am. Everyone is.
The question is, how do you react to that fear? Do you let that emotion of fear control you, my friends? Or do you say, okay, I'm going to suck it up and go forward? My other quote that I love so great is direct in line with that. To change is to grow. To have changed often is to have grown much. Now, my friends, I know, and the reason I know that some of you are going through some stress and anxiety and problems right now and grief is because when I sat down to do this program and put it together from the law, I couldn't make myself do it because I felt like there was something far more important that I needed to be talking about. Bridget, for whatever reason, reached out to me with this book, and I'm sure as we all are together in life, gave me something to use to do this program. Thank you, Bridget. I think you were told to do it, whether you know it or not, because I think it popped into your mind to do it, and you didn't even know where it was coming from, because that's what happens to me all the time. Now, do I know why? No. But I know one of my friends needs to hear these things.
Gary, that is such a great point. I mean, you and I could be sitting here right now talking about insurance.
Right.
Or big insurance companies. But for some reason, Bridget was compelled to call you to tell you about her book and the experience. You then felt compelled to change the whole program, go away from the law to do this, and then hopefully one of our friends has tuned in that something will be said that helps them.
And I believe it will. I believe that with all my heart, that this was something that I needed to do. And I think Bridget sent it to me because she felt like it was something she needed to do. And I think we're all connected. I think, am I starting to sound crazy? I don't mean to. Because I really think that in a way, we are somehow, every human being is somehow connected to everyone else in ways that we will never know. And when it comes time for us to interact with each other, it kicks in. If I'm wrong about that, folks, just discard it. Because I'm telling you, dig deep, find some happiness, and find some joy. Be tough. Understanding that your problems are probably a lot smaller than a lot of other people's. I guarantee you, you can find someone with a worse problem than you've got, and you don't have to look far. And you're going to deal with your problems, and you're going to go forward. We're going to take another break, and we're going to come right back, and we're going to read some more from that wonderful book that Bridget sent me.
We've got a couple of more quotes that we're going to read from Working Through the Puzzle of Grief. We'll be back with Gary C. Johnson right after this. Eastern Kentucky, southern West Virginia, and southwest Virginia. It can be a tough territory to reach when it comes to marketing. We can help. We can also help you find your identification.
and we have plenty of services to do it and a lot of experience behind us, over 37 years. In fact, we've either booked or sold nearly $70 million in advertising in this region. You need a new voice, a new idea, a new concept? Casebolt Marketing. We're ready to go to work for you today. Our motto is nothing happens until you make it happen. So let's get started today. Welcome back into Simply the Law. When you were talking, saying we're all connected, I was just sitting here thinking, you can feel when one of your family members is having a tough time. Mm-hmm. You can tell if the look on one of your coworkers, if something is going wrong. We are connected.
Well, the older I get, the more convinced I am that we are. And I think, Bridget, you know what? Bridget, why did you reach out to me? If you're watching this program, did it pop into your head to something say to you, why don't you try and reach out to Gary and see if he wants to read this book? Huh? Probably
Well,
didn't have much control over it, did you?
It's funny that you say that, because I actually spoke with Bridget on the phone, and she's, because we talked about this on the radio program the other day, and she said, I don't know. I never expected him to read the book. I didn't expect him to talk about the book. After all, he's the most successful lawyer there is in Eastern Kentucky and Central Kentucky. He's busy, he's working, he's in the courthouse, he's got clients, and yet he sat down and took the time to read my book and talk about it. She was shocked.
Well, like I say, Bridget, thanks for sending it to me. Let's read another large quote from Bridget.
Here's another one. What lies behind you and what lies in front of you pales in comparison to what lies inside of you. That's Ralph Waldo Emerson. And here's what Bridget had to say about it. What can you do about the past? What can you do about the future? All you really have is right now, the present. Life is a present. Too many people live in the past. They get worked up about the future. Yesterday was today 24 hours ago. What you choose to do today will be yesterday tomorrow. You have to seize the day, each day of your life. You have the choice to help yourself or others or both. By helping others, you in turn help yourself. It will make you feel better. We all get knocked off of our feet from time to time. It's how we react that tells us who we are, or should I say, who we want to be. We don't want to wallow in depression. We want to live life. All of us are afraid of dying, but living without meaning is like being dead. We stumble along doing the same things, yet we expect things to change. We have to be that change. We have to challenge ourselves whether we feel like it or not. We have to get up off the couch and do something, or sadly, tomorrow will be just like today.
That is so true.
Isn't that a wonderful take on that quote?
That is. Pretty intelligent lady, huh?
Well, again, my friend, as you have challenged us, you have said, think. It is easy to tell that Bridget has done a whole lot of thinking about her grief, about her life, and the thing that really pleases me, about others.
That's right. Let's take our last break and we'll be right back.
When we come back, we'll have the last quote and we'll read a passage from Bridget's book before we finish the program. This is Simply the Law with Gary C. Johnson.
Who really knows which lawyer you should choose? Other lawyers know. They've invited Gary C. Johnson to teach his method of judo law in Denver, Atlanta, New Orleans, and across the nation. Gary used judo law to set the record for the largest personal injury verdict in the history of Kentucky. Now, which lawyer should you choose? The choice is clear. Gary C. Johnson. Dial pound HURT. This is an advertisement.
Welcome back into Simply the Law, my friend. I got to commend you and Bridget.
Not me.
Well, you brought it in, but for us to be doing a program on the law, this is one of the best informative programs I think we've done.
Okay, do it.
All right, here's the last quote that Bridget put in. Change your thoughts and change your world. Norman Vincent Peale. It's not that simple. It's a constant struggle overcoming one's own thoughts. When you are depressed and you wake up with a certain sadness, it'll linger throughout your day if you allow it. You literally have to fight for your life. You know that you can do things to make yourself feel better, but when your energy doesn't show up, you really have to battle yourself. When you have days like this, do what you can. Anything positive can make a difference. You ask yourself the question, why do I feel this way? Then your mind goes into overdrive trying to find the answer. Then you're stuck in your head and you live there all day long. Even things that bring you happiness seem to be out of reach. It's like you want to feel better, but somehow you're lost in it. Nothing seems to matter, but you have to continue to fight. You slouch through the day, you realize that the only thing that you can do to make yourself feel better is to change the way that you're thinking. You have to say goodbye to the sadness and anger. You have to take control of your thoughts, push away the negative, and embrace the positive. What's the difference? Well, you'll start to get things done. You try to enjoy the people around you. You smile, and it feels good. Every day you have to fight for this feeling, a reason to live instead of just exist. Immerse yourself in what you're doing. Make a difference. Change your world. Find passion in what you do. Don't let the negative thoughts control your day. Rest in the moments that have brought you joy. Make your own joy. Live each day as if it were your last. Be the best you can be today and every day that you have left. Now, my friend, Bridget has thought about the dash that you talk about.
That's right. You only got that little bitty dash. And how you deal with that dash, my friends, is up to you. It can be misery, it can be joy, it can be happiness. For those of you that are going through grief that are watching, and I'm sure some are, remember, life is for the living. And think, what would the person that you're grieving for want you to do? How would they want you to feel? How would they want you to conduct your life? Would they want you to feel the pain you're feeling? Would they want you to go forward? Would they want you to dig deep and make a glorious, wonderful life for yourself? And there is no question. Each and every one of those answers would be yes, that's what they would want you to do. They would not want you to die with them. And grief can do that to you. You see people that have lived together all their lives and one will die, and then 2 weeks later the other one dies. Right? Don't let that happen to you. You have the gift of life. Use it. Treasure it. And whatever's left of your dash, make it a joyous dash.
Gary, well said. To Bridget Clay, the book is Working Through the Puzzle of Grief, One Piece at a Time. Bridget, thank you for the courage of taking care of your mother and writing this book.
And this book has not been published to my knowledge. Bridget may publish it, so you can't call me and get a copy of it, okay?
But when she does, we'll give you the information.
We'll give you a copy of it.
Thank you so much for tuning in. On behalf of Gary C. Johnson, I'm Keith Casebolt. As always, we look forward to seeing you again right here at this very same time.
Thank you for watching Simply the Law, a program created by Gary C. Johnson. Until next week, may you be safe, blessed, and happy.